A lot of people, when they end up in relationships with somebody like that, especially if you're the person that's a little bit more stable, but if you're stable in what you want to do, but you're still a little bit emotionally immature, you could easily end up being an enabler or expecting that person who's a little bit weaker in the relationship. You're like, great, this is my opportunity to make her fully dependent on me. Like, and that's happened a lot.
Even subconsciously.
Even subconsciously, like, okay, if she's a damsel in distress, which I wasn't, but like, let's just call myself a damsel in distress then. I'm never a damsel in distress. If
You're
I was
an independent woman.
I'm an independent woman. But let's say I was a damsel in distress then. You had a choice then.
She's an independent woman, but still loves to stay with her mum when she's in London.
Suspect does. Let's say I'm an independent. Let's say I'm damsel in distress, and you have the opportunity to be the knight in shining armor. Who wouldn't take that opportunity? But you, annoyingly, at the time I was very annoyed by this. I would ask you every single question. I would try and get you to make decisions for me, and you'd be like, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm not making that decision for you. I'm not telling you what you should do. I'm not picking your Instagram caption for you." Whatever, no, that's a joke. But like whatever it was, you really made me come to the conclusion myself. You made me make the decision myself. And I think I was in the habit of, with my family, always turning to them for help. And naturally out of love, they would always help me. But that didn't help me create a version of me that I trusted. And so you didn't take advantage of that. And I think that was very interesting for me to reflect back on, because you really could have become a crutch for me, but you didn't allow yourself to do that. Like, you were like, no, create your own life, do your own thing. After that, I was thinking about how from the beginning of our relationship, you've always been like, you do what you love doing, I'll do what I love doing. And of course, we want to do things together, but you will never sacrifice what you want to do, and I will never sacrifice what I want to do. How do you think people can create this independence in a world where I'd say relationships are shown to be this constant intertwinement of every part of your life? Like every person, whether you're watching on movies, whatever you're doing, it's like the expectation is you do everything together, you sacrifice in inverted commas for the other person, and everything is kind of like a give and take in that way. What would you say the healthy way of actually creating that independence is, but not be bitter?
I think most people, when they get into a relationship, they don't know themselves. And that's okay.
I did not.
And what happens is the person who knows themselves slightly better, the person who doesn't know themselves starts following that person.
Yeah, for sure.
And then 5 years later goes, well, I've just been following you. Why did you make me do that? And the person's like, I didn't. I just knew which direction I was going in. Really, it starts with everyone taking ownership of their own life and saying, is this what I want to do? Is this what brings me joy?
Yeah.
Is this what I want to focus on? Because otherwise you naturally will follow the person who has a tiny bit of direction.
Totally.
And then I've seen this, and this is why I didn't do it with you. I was so lucky to spend time with couples who were in their 50s and 60s as part of my work.
Yeah.
And I just constantly saw, especially women who had sacrificed their passion for the man's passion.
Yeah.
And in their 20s, it was fine. In their 30s, it was fine. In their 40s, it was fine. But when they turned 50 and the kids left, and that was usually the mark where they realized it, they now felt they'd sacrificed their purpose and their partner had gone on to achieve all of his goals.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be in a position ever with you that you would feel I achieved all of my goals and that you didn't achieve yours. How would that be fair on either of us? And even if it felt easy for 30 years, I don't want you to feel that when you're 50 years old.
Yeah.
And so I really believe that if anyone wants a healthy relationship, doesn't matter what gender you are, doesn't matter what type of relationship you're in, you want your partner to pursue their goals.
Yeah.
And you want to pursue your own, because you don't want your partner to ever say to you, I didn't achieve or become who I could be because of you. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of us think we'd rather our partner become who we want them to be because that's easier and more comfortable than become who they want to be. But the problem is when they become who we want them to be, they are so sad because they didn't become the person they were destined to be. And now you've taken away everything you love about them. I think actually this is at the core of it. The thing that your partner wants to pursue is what makes them attractive. That's what you fell in love with.
Right.
Like that's what makes them who they are. I always say this, like the way you've loved your family, the way they've loved you, it's what made you the person that I love.
Yeah.
So if I want you to change that, I'm actually taking away your superpower. It's like you saying to me, I don't want you to be ambitious anymore. I don't want you to be driven anymore. I would be sad, unattractive, potentially
you wouldn't
depressed.
be yourself.
I wouldn't be who I am.
Yeah.
So you're taking away your partner's superpower by saying, stop doing that, start doing this.
Yeah.
I want you to do this thing that I want to do, that I think's important. Now, when it comes to health, that could be true.
Yeah.
When it comes to mental health, that could be true. There are certain habits where that's really healthy. Like when you would say to me, you would always say to me like, oh, you're so mentally sharp, but imagine how sharp you'd be if you worked out more. Like you'd say that to me.
Yeah.
And I'd always be like, yeah, right now I don't have time. I just got to figure this out. And now as someone who works out a lot, I fully agree with you. You are spot on. So there are those kind of things that we should be open to changing and learning.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at your core personality and your core trait, and the point is if you're trying to change someone, you don't want to be with them.
Right.
You want to be with the type of person you're trying to change them to.
Yeah.
So go find that person. Don't try and mold your person into that person.
Yeah, it's so true. I feel like people get really trapped in that idea, the idea of sacrifice having to be part of a relationship. I'm imagining you talk about this in your second book. Obviously, I've read it. You talk about that?
I did.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I must have just missed that chapter. So